As tensions continue to rise in the South China Sea, the Philippines and Vietnam have made a powerful move by renewing their defense partnership, strengthening maritime security cooperation, and declaring that peace, stability, and freedom of navigation remain non-negotiable, sending a clear message that regional nations are standing together to protect their interests. The Philippines and Vietnam have taken a major step towards strengthening their partnership at a time when tensions in the South China Sea continue to shape the security environment across Southeast Asia. In Manila, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. welcomed Vietnamese President To Lam for a state visit that highlighted the growing importance of cooperation between the two neighboring maritime nations. The visit resulted in the renewal of a key defense agreement and a renewed commitment to preserving peace, stability, and freedom of navigation in one of the world's most strategically important waterways. The meeting comes as countries across the Indo-Pacific face an increasingly complex security landscape, territorial disputes, rising military activities, and growing competition among major powers have encouraged many regional governments to strengthen ties with trusted partners. For the Philippines and Vietnam, cooperation is becoming more important than ever. Although both Boc and TRIs have their own maritime interests in the South China Sea, they have steadily expanded cooperation over the years, focusing on common goals rather than differences. Defense exchanges, Coast Guard cooperation, maritime communication, and economic ties have all grown significantly. Now, both governments are signaling that they want to take that partnership even further. As President Marcos and President To Lam appeared together in Manila, the atmosphere reflected more than a routine diplomatic visit. It represented a growing strategic relationship between two ASEAN members that increasingly share concerns about regional security and the future of the South China Sea. The centerpiece of the visit was the renewal of the Philippines-Vietnam Defense Cooperation Agreement originally signed in 2010. Officials from both countries exchanged the agreement during a formal ceremony attended by the two leaders. The renewed framework is expected to strengthen cooperation in maritime security, military training, military education, humanitarian assistance, disaster response, and other defense-related activities. For both governments, the agreement is designed to improve practical cooperation while helping build trust and coordination between their armed forces. Vietnamese President To Lam emphasized the strong foundation that already exists between the two nations. To Lam, President of Vietnam, said, "Vietnam and the Philippines are maritime neighbors and important partners in the region. We are both members of ASEAN and share strategic visions and interests, as well as a strong commitment to peace, stability, the rule of law, and respect for international law." His remarks highlighted what has become a central theme in the relationship between Manila and Hanoi. Both countries see themselves not only as neighbors, but also as partners working toward a stable and peaceful Southeast Asia. As maritime nations, both depend heavily on secure sea lanes, regional stability, and a predictable international order. Those shared interests have helped bring the two countries closer together over the past decade. Trade between the Philippines and Vietnam has expanded significantly. Cooperation in agriculture, fisheries, education, tourism, and investment has also increased. However, maritime security remains one of the most important pillars of the relationship. The South China Sea continues to be one of the world's most contested maritime regions. Multiple countries claim various islands, reefs, and maritime zones within the area. At the same time, the waterway serves as a crucial route for global trade, making its stability important not only for Southeast Asia, but also for the wider international community. For years, both Manila and Hanoi have argued that disputes should be resolved peacefully and according to international law. That message was once again emphasized during the Manila meeting. To Lam, President of Vietnam, said both sides emphasize the import of international law and the Charter of the United Nations, the ASEAN Charter, and the principles of equality, cooperation, and mutual benefit. We both reaffirm the importance of preserving a peaceful and stable environment, maintaining safety, security, and freedom of navigation and overflight in the South China Sea, and settling disputes through peaceful means in accordance with international law. including the 1982 U1 Kenevan Entel Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. The statement reflects a position that both governments have consistently maintained. International law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, remains the foundation for their approach to maritime disputes. The convention establishes rules governing territorial waters, exclusive economic zones, navigation rights, and maritime boundaries. For the Philippines, the legal dimension carries special significance because of the 2016 arbitration ruling involving the South China Sea. The ruling rejected the legal basis for China's expansive claims under the so-called Nine-Line and remains an important reference point in Philippine foreign policy. Although China continues to reject the ruling, Manila has repeatedly stressed that it remains valid and legally binding under international law. President Marcos echoed those principles during the joint appearance. Ferdinand Marcos Jr., president of the Philippines, said, on political and security cooperation, we have just witnessed the signing of a pivotal agreement, the renewal of the 2010 Philippines-Vietnam Memorandum of Agreement on Defense Cooperation. This strategically important framework will significantly bolster our joint capabilities in maritime security, military education, and disaster risk reduction and management. The agreement reflects more than a simple renewal of an existing arrangement. It represents an effort to adapt bilateral cooperation to modern security challenges. Maritime security has become increasingly important for both countries. Illegal fishing, smuggling, natural disasters, search and rescue operations, and territorial disputes all require closer coordination among regional partners. Military education and training also play a crucial role. Through expanded exchanges in professional military cooperation, both countries hope to improve interoperability and strengthen institutional relationships between their defense establishments. Disaster response is another area where cooperation has become increasingly important. Both the Philippines and Vietnam are regularly affected by typhoons, floods, and other natural disasters. Enhanced coordination can help both countries respond more effectively when emergencies occur. The renewed agreement, therefore, serves multiple purposes. It strengthens defense ties, improves preparedness, supports humanitarian cooperation, and reinforces political trust. Analysts note that the timing of the agreement is particularly significant. ACRO says the Indo-Pacific governments are reassessing their security relationships in response to changing regional dynamics. The Philippines has expanded defense cooperation with a number of countries in recent years, including the United States, Japan, Australia, and several European partners. Vietnam has similarly pursued a strategy that seeks to strengthen partnerships while maintaining its independent foreign policy approach. The growing cooperation between Manila and Hanoi reflects broader efforts by regional countries to build networks of cooperation that contribute to stability without creating new divisions. President Marcos underscored the importance of maintaining peace in the South China Sea. Ferdinand Marcos Jr., president of the Philippines, said, like other states claiming rights, we reaffirm that the maintenance of peace, stability, and freedom of navigation and overflight in the South China Sea remains a non-negotiable principle. We remain firmly committed to the peaceful resolution of disputes, relying resolutely on international law, particularly the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, and the 2016 South China Sea Arbitral Award. Those comments represent one of the clearest messages delivered during the visit. The emphasis on freedom of navigation is especially important because trillions of dollars worth of global trade pass through the South China Sea every year. Any disruption to maritime traffic could have serious consequences for regional and global economies. That is why countries across the world continue to monitor developments in the area closely. The Philippines and Vietnam are among the nations most directly affected by events in the region. Both countries have repeatedly expressed concerns regarding activities that could increase tensions or undermine stability. Yet despite the challenges, both governments continue to emphasize dialogue, diplomacy, and peaceful dispute resolution. This approach aligns closely with ASEAN's broader commitment to maintaining regional peace through consultation and consensus. Beyond security matters, the visit also highlighted the broader relationship between the two countries. Economic cooperation remains a major priority. Vietnam has emerged as one of Southeast Asia's fastest growing economies, while the Philippines continues to pursue ambitious development and infrastructure goals. Both governments see opportunities for increased trade, investment, and business cooperation. agriculture remains a particularly important area of collaboration. Vietnam has long been a major supplier of rice to the Philippines, helping support food security during periods of domestic supply pressure. Officials from both countries are expected to continue exploring ways to strengthen agricultural cooperation and ensure stable food supplies. Tourism is another area with significant growth potential. As travel continues to recover and regional connectivity improves, both governments hope to encourage more exchanges between their citizens. Educational cooperation is also expected to expand. Student exchanges, academic partnerships, and professional training programs can help deepen people-to-people connections while strengthening long-term bilateral ties. For President To Lam, the visit demonstrates Vietnam's commitment to strengthening regional partnerships. For President Marcos, it reflects the Philippines' broader strategy of engaging closely with neighboring countries while promoting a rules-based regional order. Observers note that the relationship between the Philippines and Vietnam has evolved considerably over the years. What was once primarily a diplomatic relationship has grown into a comprehensive partnership covering defense, economics, education, maritime affairs, and regional cooperation. The renewed defense agreement serves as another milestone in that process. It sends a message that both governments intend to continue working together on issues that affect not only their national interests, but also the wider stability of Southeast Asia. As the visit concluded, the images of the two leaders leaving the press conference symbolized a partnership that continues to gain momentum. The agreements signed in Manila may not immediately change the strategic landscape of the South China Sea. However, they do strengthen cooperation between two important regional players and reinforce shared commitments to peace, stability, and international law. At a time when geopolitical competition continues to intensify across the Indo-Pacific, such partnerships are becoming increasingly valuable. The Philippines and Vietnam understand that while challenges remain, cooperation provides a stronger foundation for addressing them. Their renewed defense agreement reflects that belief. It is a commitment to closer coordination, stronger capabilities, and deeper trust. Most importantly, it is a signal that both countries intend to work together to preserve peace and stability in a region that remains vital to the future of Southeast Asia and a broader international community. For Manila and Hanoi, the message is clear. Partnership, dialogue, and cooperation remain the preferred path forward. And as both nations continue to strengthen their ties, that partnership is likely to play an increasingly important role in shaping the future security environment of the South China Sea and the wider Indo-Pacific region.